Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Tommy podcast, where we believe a healthy life starts with a healthy mind. So, if you are on a quest to improve your sleep quality, boost positivity, enhance your English skills, and end your day with peacefulness, you are in the right place. So, what is the mindset that we have for you today? Today podcast is all about procrastination, an action that means delaying or putting off task. And this episode is a little bit special because this is no longer a solo podcast of J. Tommy, but it also have me. Hi, my name is Selena. I'm your host. And today we have a fascinating topic that is when procrastination is a good choice. So joining with us is our special guest, Tommy, an expert in mindfulness and decision making. Welcome, Tommy.
Thank you very much, Selena. I think that people may sound pretty weird when listening to you because the first part is always my part, right? But then thank you very much to make this one so special with your voice. I really appreciate your time. Actually, I'm not an expert in mindfulness, but I do practice mindfulness and gratitude every single day. So it's a great honor of mine to be here. Thank you very much, Silly.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining today. So, Tommy, let's get started. People usually think procrastination is a bad choice. It's delaying the tasks that need to be completed, often without a good reason. But do you have any different ideas? Because you often do. So, can you explain why procrastination can sometimes be good?
Yes, when it comes to procrastination, people may think because you delay the task that should be done or should be completed, in the short period of time, but then you delay that. So it's something bad, right? But, life doesn't wait for anybody, giving us enough time to make best decisions. We often face hard choices in life, like whether we should go to college or get a job right after high school, follow a passion, or get a job to make ends meet, right? Invest or save, quit a job or wait, stay and wait for a promotion. So life pushes us to decide quickly, whispering, hey, you decide now. Or if you wait, you miss the chance, right?
That's so true. So, but how does procrastination help with this?
Um, think about the glass of water with dirt in it. So the best way to clear the dirt is to wait, right? To let the dirt settle down to the bottom. Similarly, when you're facing big decisions in life, it's often best to procrastinate or to wait until your emotions calm down. Let's take a quick example of buying something new. I know you are a shopaholic, right? So maybe
That's correct.
yes. So I was the same situation because I couldn't resist my temptation buying something new. So imagine you have a camera, maybe the old model camera, and you've seen an advertisement for the new model with more attractive functions, and especially you can get it with the real bargain is on big sale, and you have two choices. Number one, click, put it to the cart, and pay. Number two, wait and see whether it's necessary, and maybe you'll come back tomorrow. Usually, when you choose the second option, you realize that it's not that important. And in this situation, procrastination gives us more time to calm our temptation, and maybe later we'll make a better decision.
I also share a similar situations, and I believe even me or our audience who are listening to this podcast also share the same thing. Because for me, I recently considered to buy an iPad, especially for my drawing. I was really excited about the possibility, but also a bit hesitant about the expense because it is too expensive to afford an iPad. So instead of making an immediate purchase, I decide to sleep on it. So partly because it's so hard for me to decide. But It's true because the pause, it allowed me to evaluate the actual need versus my initial
Exactly.
excitement. So the next day, I realized that while the iPad had amazing feature, it wasn't essential at the moment. I can draw on my Wacom instead. It's a digital board that doesn't
Okay.
have the touch screen only. So it is way cheaper.
Okay.
So that is one of my sharing. And I also believe you, like Tommy, have you ever faced significant decisions at work where procrastination helped you to make a better choice? So could
Mm-hmm.
you share how that worked out, especially in your experience with Tommy English? I'm super curious.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good question, Celie. I'm running my own business right now. As you may know, Tommy English. We're working online, and we have around 50 members working with me.
Mm.
Managing people isn't a skill that you learn overnight. It takes time, effort, experience, and learning from failures. I
That's true.
considered myself a fast-lived person in the past. I used to lack of patience in making decisions, especially when I was too emotional or when I was affected by something around me, the people around me, the weather, maybe, or the surroundings. But here is the great experience that shows how procrastination has helped me a lot in making decision. I once had to decide whether to fire someone in an important position after a series of mistakes. I wrote an email with everything included and I was about to send it, but I decided to save to my drafts and I called him
Mm.
in and I talked to him first. It
Mm.
turned out that I learned many valuable lessons from our conversations, right? So
Mm.
when I looked back at my email, I thought to myself, how silly of you, Tommy. It's lucky that you didn't send it. So when you're not in your best state, you don't decide immediately. You can note
Mm.
everything down. You can do anything with you first, save it to your drafts or notes. And for sure, the next day when you look back, you'll smile at yourself for how silly you are.
That's a smart move. But I'm curious, where do you learn of this?
Many studies show that waiting to decide until we are calm can improve our situations, our decisions.
Mm.
For example, I remembered I've gone through the research show that sleeping on it can reduce the impact of bad emotions and also it can help our brain process the information better.
I can relate to that. I once had a conflict with my college and I wanted to quit my job immediately. But
Mhm,
luckily, I decided to wait and think about it. And it's really random since normally I don't do that.
mhm,
But after a day, I realized that I could resolve the issue without quitting. So I turned out to my college, was also willing to talk to solve the
mhm.
problems. And from that the moment, I realized that so waiting can help us to make a better choice. But I'm still curious since I'm an energetic and somehow hot-tempered person. So how long should we wait before deciding?
It seems like we share a lot in common, Silly. I'm sometimes hot-tempered too. From my experience and the research I have conducted, waiting between 4 to 24 hours is usually a good idea. Yes,
Okay.
for me, delaying decisions for a day is often the best choice. Deciding too quickly can be rash and emotional, but waiting too long can make us lose interest. And when maybe we may give up later because we fall into the trap of procrastination and missing opportunities. For instance, let's talk about the job application, the job interview. When choosing between two job offers, waiting for a day can give you enough time to weigh the pros and cons and make the decision that best suits your skills and interests.
That's helpful advice. But what about situation that we need to decide quickly for some emergency, for example?
Of course, there will always be exceptions in every aspect of life, right? So in procrastination is no different. Some situations need quick action, while others may need more thought. So the goal that we have to make, is to make as many good decisions as we can. But then we can't measure exactly how long we should procrastinate to make the best decisions. Maybe just only 5 minutes of procrastination, or maybe just a day, or maybe some of the important decision we may need like 2 days of procrastination. But by procrastinating wisely, we can give ourselves the best chance to think carefully. Let's take an example with my experience last week. I had a family emergency, and I had to decide whether to catch the last minute flight. I could have gone without thinking and arranging anything. But instead, I took a deep breath. I told myself, whatever happened had happened. And I sat down to note everything I needed to prepare for the trip. And I chose the best suitable flight, that I have more time to prepare for everything I need. So, that moment of calm helped me organize my trip better.
So you're saying that we should practice mindful procrastination, right?
Exactly. Being mindful. This is my favorite word, actually, mindfulness. We can be mindful in talking to each other, doing podcast right now. We can be mindful in our conversation. We can be mindful in eating, in walking, in reading, in doing anything in life. It means like we have to focus on the present. So procrastination is the same. By waiting, we're giving ourselves more chance to say, oh, at that moment, we did the best that we could. It's about making decisions that we can be at peace with, and knowing that later we took the time to think.
Wow, such an insightful knowledge, they taught me. I'm really curious where you learned all of this. And what is the best advice that you ever heard or ever received?
The best advice I've ever received was from my grandfather. He told me, never reply when you're angry. Never promise when you're happy. And never make a decision when you are sad. Right? So it taught me not to let my emotions control me and the people around me, and to always let my emotions settle down before making any important choices. This advice has saved me a lot from many poor decisions in my life.
Wow, that's so really meaningful. I love receiving advice from my grandparents too, because they live their whole life, their life long enough for these things.
Exactly. Talking to the elderly person can give us, a lot of experience. That is the reason why we should have two types of close friends in our life. I do have two types of close friends because I have a lot of, students who are 50s or 60s. I love talking to them, right? So that's the first type of friend that you should have in your life, because you can learn a lot from their experiences, their skills, or even their failures, because they have gone through the things that we haven't gone through. So that is the reason why if they share something, that would be very precious for us. And the second type of friend that we should have in our life is the younger friends, because you can take advantage of them from their creativity, their energy. So, Silly, can I just ask you a quick question?
Sure, go ahead. I've been asking you so many questions.
I love question actually, but then let's just switch a little bit. So Silly,
Sure.
tell me what's the difference between successful people and a very successful people?
Um, since I'm still young and I'm still on my way figuring out success, so I don't have that much experience yet, but I noticed something that is important about successful people like you or like my dad and my lecturer, that they are very picky and they have a very clear plan. So some of my friends, they take every job or the projects that they can, hoping to get a lot of experience, but they don't seem to reach out to the same levels of success. They are wishing for more. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's all about like the strategy and the selection more than just jump into a lot of projects without thinking like what will you learn or what will you gain afterwards.
So you gotta be selective, right, to
Mm,
be successful, right? So
I
that's
think so.
yes, that's most successful people do. Yes, here's another valuable piece of advice I've learned from Warren Buffett, one of my biggest
Mm,
inspirations. The difference between successful people and very successful people is that the very successful people say no to almost everything. They are very picky, they are very selective in everything. Have you
mm,
ever noticed that saying no can give you more time to focus on what is truly important to you? Right? So you might think, yeah,
mm,
because like you're friendly, right? So you're helpful to everyone around you. So
that's
it is
right.
it is hard for you to say no whenever someone
Yeah.
needs help. Like, silly, can you do me a favor? Can you pick me up tonight? I have an important assignment that I need your help. Maybe just only you help me. If you don't help me, that's gonna be a big trouble, right? And you're trying to be friendly, to be helpful to the people around you, right? But sometimes it is necessary to prioritize actions that align with your true goals and values, right?
Absolutely, they tell me I also like have the same attribute that you mentioned, but I've also start to see that saying no isn't just about like turning down what doesn't
Mm-hmm.
fit. It's about like opening up space for what really matter.
Yeah.
It is tough sometimes because sure, I also want to help others and to be involved, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm still learning that I can be more effective and true to my own path by carefully choosing where to invest in my time and energy.
Mm-hmm.
So your advice really reinforced that ideas, and I think it is something that I'm trying to practice more in my own life.
Exactly, especially with the young people, with the young generation,
Mm,
just as your age,
correct.
right? Because like we often feel pressured to say yes to everything, but learning to prioritize can make a big difference in our lives. The power of saying no can also make others respect us more. When we say yes to everything, people may think, oh, I don't have to worry about anything. Tommy is always around, Celia is always around,
Mm,
then they are
mm-hmm.
always there to support me. So you gotta learn to say no more often, to save more of your time and to choose which is important to you to, invest your time and energy on.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Tommy. And I also think that your example about waiting 24 hours before making job decisions highlight how procrastination can be a tool for better decision making.
Mm-hmm.
By giving ourselves time, we can weight the pros and the cons more effectively.
Yes.
And this can apply to many areas of our life, I believe, from career choice to personal relationship.
Yes, exactly. Right. We've been talking about the career, about our jobs. Right now, let's talk about the relationships. How we can apply this method into our relationships, this technique, right? Because like this technique can be incredibly beneficial to our relationships, even like your friendship or even how do I say the romantic one. So instead of rushing into a decision, we can give ourselves the space and we can consider all the aspects and the situations, the best case scenarios or the worst case scenarios. This is a wonderful tip for the relationships. Don't say or do anything when you're angry because in that
Mm.
moment it's not truly you, something else is, something has covered you. So that is the reason why the first thing that people should learn if people want to start a relationship is learning how to argue. Because when you look at someone who is arguing, you see who they truly are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when you look at the way that they argue, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have watched a TikTok videos randomly
Mm-hmm.
about a quote saying that when you are temper, the
Mm-hmm.
wording that you say isn't you, that is from the temper inside you, and you
Exactly.
need to know how to control it. So
Exactly.
I think it's all about like making sure that we do decide, we doing it with a clear mind, and we have a full understanding about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And again, thank you again, Thầy Tommy, for sharing this valuable insight. I'm sure that our listener will find them very helpful in today's podcast.
Thank you very much, Silly, for bringing some new vibe to the audience, to the people who are listening to this podcast number 7. So I do hope that people who are listening to this in whatever platform you are, maybe on podcast or YouTube or maybe TikTok. Later we can have some of the small, the short version of this podcast to put on the TikTok or Facebook Reel, something like that. I hope that you can benefit from today's discussion to learn how to procrastinate wisely. And procrastination is not always the bad thing that you do, but it's sometimes it's good to delay our decision so that we can make a better decision later. Thank you very much.
I'm sure they will. And once again, to our listener, remember that it's okay to take your time with the decisions.
Yes.
Sometimes waiting can be the best choice that you make. Thank you again for tuning in to the Palmy podcast. And if you enjoyed this journey today, please hit the follow button on the platform that you're listening on. Until the next time, take care, be mindful in your decision making, and good night.